we call upon the mayor and the city commissioner to implement and support the 5 points of the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition for Justice and Police Reform, and to move urgently to bridge the gap of mistrust between the Portland Police Force and the citizens of Portland.
We are not afraid. I said what? No, we're not afraid. We are not afraid. Today, oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we are not afraid today, because God is on our side, isn't He? Yeah. Oh.
Now's the time.
Stop the killing.
I can't hear you. Now's the time.
Stop the
I
killing.
can't hear you. Now's the time.
Stop the killing.
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 Now's the time.
Stop the
We
killing.
demand that you. We demand that you.
Stop the
We
killing.
demand that you.
Stop the killing.
Now's the time.
Stop the killing.
Now's the time.
Stop the
We
killing.
demand that you.
Stop the
We
killing.
demand that you.
Stop the killing.
Now's the time.
Stop the killing.
And my message to Robert King, the President of the Union, is this.
Get rid of him.
And I said this to Robert King on Friday when he called me. We need a different quality of leadership from you. So let me close and just say that we don't need any more divisiveness. We don't need any more pain. And Lord knows we don't need any more suffering.
Whether things have changed for the better, I'm here to say to you that the folks in the community and you all know that nothing has changed except that it has gotten worse. In the past year, the Portland Police Department has killed 4 people of color: Kendra James, Eddie Hamsobeth, Angel Padilla, and now Jahar Perez.
Less than a year to go, we were gathering like this in many places of the city. Emo joins the many other voices calling for a public inquest of the recent police shootings. Now, as a pastor of a congregation in Northeast Portland, Augustana Lutheran, a very multicultural congregation, many peoples who celebrate what it means to be together and to weave community, I am quite frankly worried for young people growing up in this city, and especially for persons who are African American, Latino, Native American, Asian American, so many who are targeted in the wrong ways.
I began to think, as Dr. Haynes ended with that word, how long? I asked the question, how long must we continue to wait for justice and accountability? How long must we wait for police officers to continue to stand behind I feared for my life and another citizen's life has ended? How long must we wait for the Portland Police Union to join together and say, let's do what's right, let's do what's good for our citizens, and not just try to protect one person, as they've been quoted as saying, while they are doing their job. Well, while they're doing their job, we still want everybody to be able to go home and live free and be safe each and every day.
When we started Portland Cop Watch, we did it as part of our parent group, and about 2 weeks after Peace and Justice Works was formed, a verdict came down that cleared the officers who beat Rodney King to within an inch of his life, prompting a rebellion in Los Angeles. We knew that if we wanted to work for peace, we needed to seek justice. That's now almost 19 years later, and we're still seeking that justice here in Portland.
Now it is my honor and privilege to introduce someone who really needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. My former state senator, the first African-American woman to serve in the Oregon Senate in Salem, my friend, my sister, Miss Avell Gordley. Please come. We are a community that is traumatized to this hour by the deaths of citizens by police. This trauma that we are experiencing over and over and over again has resulted in an undeclared and unaddressed mental health crisis in our city. Every time there has been a death, there has been a re-traumatization of the people in our beloved city. It is trauma that some experience more deeply than others. Are we being planful enough, inclusive enough, with strategies to help our people move through grief and fear and to heal? We are here in the name of justice to say again that we, the citizens, will not live in fear of the police, and to establish out loud and in public once again that the police and elected officials work for the people. We are here because after 40 years, it is clear that the call for a federal investigation by the Justice Department to include criminal and civil rights violations, as well as a federal audit of patterns and practices of the Portland Police Bureau, is long overdue. You do not have to have lived here for 40 years, 4 years, or 4 months to know that we have an entrenched problem in this city. The problems are structural, institutional. They are the result of failed leadership, institutional racism, inertia, and arrogance. We are here to say that this call for a federal investigation, which is one of the 5 goals being advanced by this coalition, these goals need to be advanced by our entire community. We are not here to ask for permission. We are here to say to those who hold the power in our name, those that we put in office, that this is what we want done, and we want it done now. Next, I want to call up Tyrone Waters, who is Avell Gordley's son that she spoke about earlier, but he's also with PFLAG, the Portland Black Chapter.
My name is Tyrone Waters, member of PFLAG Portland Black Chapter. I am a 44-year-old black male born and raised in Portland. I have a mental illness. I am also the only son of former Oregon State Senator Avell Gordley. My horrific journey of being diagnosed with mental illness began in 1995 when I was arrested by Portland police for allegedly setting fire to an Oregon State Corrections officer's van. I was hospitalized at the Oregon State Hospital where I was treated and diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. My next psychotic break was in 2001 when I had allegedly pointed a pellet gun at Portland police. They opened fire at me using both live rounds of ammunition and beanbag rounds of ammunition. By the grace of God, the live rounds missed me, and I was hit in 3 places on my body by the beanbag rounds.
Next, we have Chris O'Connor from the Mental Health Association of Portland. Come on down, Chris.
Thank you, Joanne. Thanks for coming out today, everyone. I want to talk to you about a difficult choice that many people in our community have to make. If they have a friend or a family member or loved one in a mental health crisis, they may have to call for help. But who do they call in a crisis or an emergency? Do they call 911? If they have a friend who's suicidal, a family member acting irrationally, or a neighbor unable to control themselves or respond properly to other people due to mental illness or seizure, developmental disability, or other confused state of mind, who do you call? Unfortunately, over past years, our city has become a place where when you're trying to help someone in crisis, you have to pause before making a 911 call. Because what will happen when the first responder is a police officer and treats the call like a criminal justice matter? Will our family member end up going to jail instead of the hospital? Will our friend be physically assaulted or even killed when he or she fails to respond rationally to the responding officer? And cruelly, if something does go wrong and the officer ends up using force or criminal charges against that person, there'll be very little oversight of the officer, no consequences or changes in police policy, and few, if any, apologies from our city leaders.
No parent in this city should have to worry anymore, and I salute the parents who have lost their children who are marching today, because you are a witness of courage and faith.
When Campbell is shot in the back, something that should not occur, something is wrong.
Yes.
And there has to be a different attitude as to how we correct that, and not the status quo.
Too many times, in too many questionable circumstances, Portland police have killed people who are of color and or mentally ill. Reform efforts have so far failed to change oversight, let alone prevent more deaths. Here is what the Albina Ministerial Coalition for Justice and Police Reform demands now.
Oh, we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. I do believe we shall overcome. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand